Survivor's ready. How you doing, guys? I am the titular Sykes of Sykes's Survivor Talk, and welcome to the discussion of episode 14 of Winners at War. The episode title is It All Boils Down to This. This is the big finale that we've all been waiting for. I believe the payoff was huge. Oh, this is huge. Oh, to quote Tony from Cagayan, it was an amazing episode. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the big story of the night is Tony Vlachos. I hope you guys are spoiled on this and you did watch the episode. Tony Vlachos is a two-time winner of Survivor, the unlikeliest winner I would imagine going into this season. Very few people picked him. I'm impressed with the people that did in our little pool, but every website that I went to, every podcast that I listened to had Tony number 20 out of 20 in terms of who people were picking to go the distance. So I'm as shocked as anybody, but I'm pretty pleased.
The greatest of all time?
You know, it's funny. I listened to a podcast with Tony today where, Rob asked him, Tony, do you consider yourself to be the greatest of all time? He's like, oh, Rob, I don't know. I mean, every game is different, right? I was the greatest on this particular season, but then on the other season I played, I was terrible. And, whoever won their particular season, they were the greatest on that. And I thought it was a really sort of intelligent, self-reflective take on it. So greatest of all time? For entertainment value, those two seasons that Tony's on. I mean, I just did a rewatch of Cagayan. I friggin' loved it. I think he's an amazing player. He's incredibly astute. I don't know what he doesn't have in his game. Randy's here to tell us about what Tony doesn't have tonight. I think Randy was dragging Tony on his Facebook today. So hey, I'm gonna shut up now. I want to hear what you guys think about the big show last night, and we'll get into the details.
If you're talking about greatest of all time of people who won, Tony, hands down, over Sandra. They're the only two-time winners, so I'm going with Tony and as that. But I'm curious what everybody's opinion on greatest of all time, just Survivor player. Like, do you have to be a winner or a two-time winner to be considered one of the best players to play Survivor?
I don't think so. I think that then there's some notable exceptions, like people that have kind of proven this point. I think Suri, Rob Cesternino, Johnny Fairplay have all played really strong seasons and didn't win their seasons due to some kind of, a challenge they were unable to win in the final three or whatnot.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think too many people like Devins get voted off at 4, don't win fire, and he was a shoo-in to win. So I don't think it's fair to say at all that you have to win your season. There's a lot of goats that win.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say in a season that has satisfying winners, usually it's because some people have played it really, really poorly. And in both Tony's seasons, there was a lot of poor play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. There was a distinct amount of poor play. Anyone else have any takes on Tony Vlachos as the greatest of all time? Nobody. So, Greg, I agree with my brother. I agree with my brother in that, in that I don't necessarily think you have to have won to be considered a great player. I think you could be in the top 10. I think I'd put Suri in there for sure. In some realm, I'd put like an Aussie in there. I think he's a very good physical player. I don't know if he's top 10, but he's a pretty legendary player. In order to be the greatest of all time or to be on the Mount Rushmore of Survivor, you got to have won the game. Come on.
I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Crystal Cox, the best player of all time.
Does he ever come off the limb? I think he's always there.
I think Russell Hantz is way better than Tony. I do.
No.
We'll hear you out.
Yeah. So that season when Natalie got the win, it was because everyone was so bitter. But Russell played the same way as Tony, except for Tony just antics. Look at me, camera. Whereas Russell, in my mind, played a game where he wanted to win. He wasn't performing for the cameras. And I just find Tony annoying. Like, I find him just playing for entertainment value. And I'm sure the producer's like, okay, yeah, do this. But I don't know.
Randy, you're one of the most theatric people I've ever met, who posts on Facebook about 14 times a day. How can you not appreciate if, in fact, Tony is playing up to the camera?
Wait.
How is this not in your wheelhouse?
You're an actor.
You know what? He is actually won me over. I will tell you. Last night, I was rooting for him. I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, over Michelle. Now, Natalie, but we'll come to that. But
Sure, we will.
He won me over. I will give you guys that. He won me over.
Okay, just to jump in on your comparison between Russell Hantz and Tony. So the social aspect of the game is a big part of the game. And Russell had zero social skills, whereas Tony, I would say, has considerable social skills because people really like Tony. Whether you like him at home because you think he's a bit over the top, people liked him in the game.
Randy, if Tony and Russell are in a final, right, who do you want to vote for? Or let's say if you could go and hang out with one of those two people, you really want to spend time in the bayou with Russell Hantz?
I would love to actually see them play together, but
That would be
I would say Tony this season was a more fun Tony to watch. But his first season that he won, he was very much like a Russell Hantz. He was an asshole.
I don't see it that way. I haven't seen Kagayan in a while, but I don't remember him being an asshole. I think he did things he had to do, but I don't remember him being just like a jerk about it.
You know who I'm going to ask about this? Caitlin just watched this season 2 weeks ago. What was your take?
I think he was fairly diplomatic with every decision he made, and it was really a business decision, but he felt genuinely bad about it. You could see he really got hurt when he voted out people he was close to, and you could see that even in this latest episode. He was devastated when,
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you. I can't
It's
remember her name.
Lucina. It's
I'm
Lucina.
Sorry.
No recollection of it. He was genuinely devastated. You could see that he had real connections with people, I think. I don't think
and he never did things like Russell Hantz called it his dumb blonde alliance, and Russell Hantz would bully people. Tony never bullied people.
No.
Russell Hantz is undeniably a misogynist, in all likelihood a racist, and just a belligerent scumbag by all accounts.
Who came first, Russell or Tony? And there's
Russell.
Russell? Yeah, but things, as Jeff said yesterday, things have changed. I will get,
I think that you may be sleeping a bit on Tony, and I think because the first time we saw him, we were kind of drawing up these memories of Russell Hantz and kind of putting him in that category because we hadn't seen a player like Tony before, and that was the closest thing we had to compare him to.
True.
Tony is a very likable person. He had some contentious relationships on that season with Cass, who was a very contentious person herself, and I suspect very difficult to get along with. And that was the number one sort of person that he sparred with. But look, I don't want to get back too much into Cagayan. I think he played a great season then, but this was something else. This was a masterful performance. As far as I'm concerned, best of all time, I don't know, but in terms of the actual game he played, maybe the best of all time. I don't know.
It's masterful, but it took a lot of just ineptitude from other people.
Okay, well, let's get into it then, shall we? Let's get into it. So we have the big vote at the end. I'll start with the vote, and we saw that the vote was 12-4. I was surprised that Natalie got as many votes as she did. I was surprised very much that Michelle didn't get any votes at all. I think if you stay in the game, Michelle is the only person in the history of the show to play 2 times and never be voted out.
Amanda Kimmel did that in her first 2 seasons, though, didn't she?
In her first 2 seasons, that's true, but Amanda has since been voted out. Apologies.
Right.
That's true. Amanda got to the final in her first 2 seasons. Amanda has since played again. There's some particular element of the stat that I'm missing here. Winner. She's the only winner to have played twice. And wait, now Sandra did it. But Sandra has since been voted out. Michelle has still been never voted out of the game. That's all I have to say. She's made it to the end both times, and she's won the game, which I think is a very impressive feat. And I think she did pretty well. I think she scrambled when she had to scramble. I don't know. Her game wasn't masterful. She in no way deserved to win. I would have been really interested to see Michelle go up against. What do you got a final with Denise, Michelle, and Ben. Who's winning that?
Denise, probably.
You think so, huh?
Michelle, probably. The problem with Michelle, it's very difficult to make a case when you've had no agency throughout the game. Playing from the bottom in a lot of ways is really, really easy. You have no moves. All you can do is try to win an immunity when you need it, but you don't have a lot of options, right?
And then your argument is always, well, I had to play from the bottom the whole time, and that's your one thing. I couldn't make any moves, but Sorry, Leanne, it sounded like you had something you wanted to chime in with there.
No, I was just saying, like, Michelle had a lot of friends and everything that were on Extinction and everything as well. Like, all those people being voted off or given her fire tokens all over the place and everything. So I feel like she had a little bit of a, the social game was strong regardless of where she ended up in the votes. And then towards the end of the game, she won a couple of immunities as well. So I feel like she ended strong. So I feel like, coming up against Tony and, it just wasn't going to happen for her anyways. But it was nice to see that she did actually have some justification for why she was there and proving her position in the game. So
I think she should have elaborated more on how the in-game play was determined by a lot of the stuff that she found and sent into the game to different people.
I think we got a truncated version of what actually happened in the tribal council, and I think we got a greatest hits thing, and I think they probably did elaborate more on the strategy.
Even Tony today in the interview that I listened to, because Rob was like, "Did you have any flaws?" He's like, "Oh, I had a million flaws in the game, but I won the game. Obviously, the producers are going to make me look great, right?" Stuff that goes on in the show that we don't see. Those final tribals last 4 hours. You can see because it's pouring rain and they're miserable, and then Jeff's shirt is somehow dry. Right? Like they're there for a very, very, very long time. I watched a Instagram live with Danny today, and Danny was saying that Yule had to leave for 20 minutes because he had such bad diarrhea.
Yes.
So they had to take a massive break.
Brian, to tell you that Michelle joined Sandra, Amanda, and Russell as the only players to make final tribal council in both of their first 2 seasons, and Michelle is the only winner never to be voted out.
That's what I meant to say.
That's concise.
So there you go.
Thank you, Randy. See, Randy, I need a fact checker on here. I do my homework, but I'm not always up on everything that I have to do. That's wonderful. Thanks a lot. So Natalie finished second. I don't know. I kind of thought about it today. Is Natalie that good? She played a great edge game. She goes at the final 6, and she plays an idol, but there's an opportunity there to send Sarah to fire, and they don't take that opportunity. That's one element of this that I really don't understand, because they have the tie, and then they go and they have to revote, and they can vote for Denise, or they can vote for Sarah, and they can split it and make the fire. Why do you not? I still can't understand this. Why do you not send those 2 to fire? Anybody.
You have to, because you need to weaken Tony. And I know, right? Everyone else had a strategy of, we need to weaken Jeremy. Like, so let's cut Wendell, or we need to weaken Jeremy, let's cut Natalie. How she cannot apply that to this, that makes total sense, because you take another person away that could win immunity and kind of cover each other. So I just don't understand why at that point they didn't. And Denise is probably much more of a free agent than Sarah is, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
We didn't get enough from Denise to know. So what are you doing? Why are you hovering over okay. Go ahead.
I think that they could have got Denise to go with them and be 3 against 2 and possibly done a final 3 that way, because Denise had no in with those guys. And she wouldn't have wanted to go to the end with them because she knew that one of them would win.
Yeah, Denise sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
Denise is a very practical person, so I think she can look on one side and see Tony and Sarah and be like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna," or Tony and Ben, and be like, "I'm gonna get wasted by Tony in the final," and see like Michelle Natalie looks. I mean, ideally Michelle Ben, you work some way, but I think Denise had you really should have taken your shot with Denise at the final in that spot.
Absolutely.
I was actually really surprised when Sarah jumped in or whatever and was saying like her relationship with Natalie or whatever was really strong after only being off of Extinction for like half a day and stuff. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, I felt like there was no context there. And so the fact that Natalie didn't vote out Sarah, I'm like, obviously there's something there that we're missing. And I just didn't understand where that came from. So
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think those 4, that final 4 had maybe a stronger bond than we might have seen. Tony, Sarah, Denise, and Ben.
Sure.
They might have had like, it's us 4 to the final 4, and then just let's duke it out.
Yeah, but this is you've got to be smarter than that in this season, though, right? Like, you've got to look at where your chances are, and both Ben and Denise, especially after being told by multiple people that like, oh, Tony is, everyone thinks Tony is the shit. Like, you have to change course at that point.
Yeah.
Ben gave up.
what do you think? What if Sarah had won Fire? Do you think the votes would have gone to Natalie then? Because if Sarah had won Fire, then you got Sarah, Michelle, and Natalie. What did Sarah do? She rode Coney's coattails.
I don't think she did.
No, I don't think so.
Really?
I think
we see. Go ahead.
Well, I think they were teammates, but because Tony won the season, they probably gave him a bit more of an edit that favored him, looking like he was the driver behind most of the things. But I think she was there along with him with every step except for the one Sophie vote.
Agreed.
Which is why I think Sarah makes that blind. So Sarah blindsides Tony with the Ben vote, right? Tony had no idea that was happening. I think that evens them up in terms of blindsides. I don't think that's a good move for Sarah.
Bad move for Sarah.
At all.
To do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more of Ben's move than anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think it just does, like, you want to go with Ben to the end. You don't want Ben out of the game. You don't want to have these other people in the game for whom it's going to be more difficult for you to win. So I don't love that move. We could talk about that move. I think it's poor.
It's a terrible. If you break it down, it's a terrible move.
I kind of thought about it today. Randy, to answer your question, I think Natalie is very close, if not the one. Danny said Natalie would have won. How much Danny knows, I don't know. But you know, she was close to she was on edge for almost the entire time, and she was close to the people on edge. Natalie already catches 4 votes. To me, that is, she played 2 days of the game, got voted out, and then she comes back, and I quite frankly don't think she plays that well. She doesn't force the fire, she misplays the idol at final 5, and she doesn't take Tony on. I don't know how you get any votes. If you take Tony on, all right, well, you're in the Underwood territory. So I've never watched that episode, and I downloaded it last night, and I'm about halfway through. I gotta respect that game. I mean, I think Underwood did quite a bit with it. I do think that was Devon's game to lose, but we can talk about that in the offseason. I don't think Natalie played the same game as a Chris Underwood, and I don't think she did enough. If she had taken on Tony, I think that would have been impressive. It's a win-win situation for her, really. I mean, okay, technically she could lose. But if she wins that fire challenge, number 1, Tony's gone, which is the biggest threat in the game. Number 2, she looks like a badass. And Boston Rob calls her right out, right? She comes back into the game saying, oh, everybody thinks Tony's going to win. Everybody thinks Tony's going to win. And you guys, we got to take out Tony. And she doesn't take Tony on. She has that opportunity. Tony is still there. So, I don't know. She doesn't deserve to win. In the situation that Randy brings up, I think she probably does.
I think that's a disrespect. Like, and again, this is the problem. I think this is where a real sexism comes in Survivor, and I think that to discount Sarah's game is almost like
not to throw Randy under the bus here, but Randy just said she was riding coattails. Randy,
it's a real.
How would you
it's a
care to
real
respond?
It's a real disservice, though, to disrespect her game like that.
I would give it to Caitlin what she said, editing men, because based on what they did, she didn't do anything. So Caitlin's probably right that they had the final 3. They knew who's in final 3. So let's edit Tony this way. So if Sarah was in the final 3, maybe she'd be edited in a way where you're like, oh, wow. So
I thought the edit served Sarah very well, and I thought it showed her lockstep with Tony. I just think that Tony was the bigger personality, so it was going to pop on the screen more. But she always had to confer with Sarah with every decision except for the Sophie vote. And you know, there's times when Sarah put her foot down wrongly, but Tony did defer to Sarah a few times.
I do believe Natalie getting even 4 votes displays an inherent flaw with the edge of extinction. And even Tyson comes out today and he's like, you know what? I'd rather give the 2 milli, as he puts it, to someone who I consider a friend than an acquaintance that I barely know. And that's not Tyson's fault. It's the game. If I was in there and my best friend or someone who I was really close to was up for 2 mil, I'm just like, whatever. I don't really know this other guy. And that's a flaw of the game. These people shouldn't have the first person voted out on the freaking jury, and you shouldn't have them back. In the game, this is a cold take. I mean, I think most people agree with this. I don't think we're going to see it again for a long time. And if we do, I really hope it's in a different iteration. But I'd rather see the edge of extinction than 16-year-old kids. What can I say?
Yeah, same.
Not a fan. We can get to that if we get to that. Otherwise, we can talk about it in like a postseason discussion. But I'll try and get through this 3-hour show as quick as I can. You know, we'll do our best here. I like the beginning of the show when Jeff shows up from his garage. Jeff's garage is bigger than my apartment.
Me too. I was thinking that.
How are you guys surprised?
I texted, I didn't text Jeff today, but you put this picture up on Instagram and I'm like, Probs, can I move into your garage, man? You've got a lot more space than I do. I thought that was cute. I don't understand the point of showing those guys all on Zoom for, I think I counted 9 seconds.
Yeah.
When I rewatched
everybody. Yeah.
Well, but they were pre-tapes. They weren't live, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because if you pause it, Rob and Amber have the exact same background, like the same painting behind them. They just had one camera set up. They did this little thing, and then they came back in and they filmed another one of these things. Plus, Tony, Michelle, and Natalie all had different outfits on when they actually won later in the game.
Oh, wow.
Maybe the Zoom meeting kept on getting hacked and and so they just scrapped it at the last minute.
I suspect there were a million problems with it. So
they didn't need to do it live. They didn't use it for anything. So what was the point of even showing them for 9 seconds?
It's nice to see that Sophie had recovered from her illness. That's probably about it. Apparently she was sick for weeks afterwards. I spent too much time during the day. I couldn't do anything else today. I was up till probably 2 in the morning. No, I'm going to say 1-ish. Just going through the Survivor Reddit, watching the stupid Chris Underwood vote. I was listening to podcasts all day today. This is it for Survivor for who knows how long. So great. We see, one thing I did note in Jeff's garage, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, is that Jeff mentions that his 16-year-old helped him set up the garage. Oh, I get it now. I get why he wants 16-year-olds on the show now.
I don't think they're going to have Jeff Probst's son on the show.
Jeff Probst's son is going to be on the show. It's not actually Jeff Probst's son. It's his wife's son.
Okay.
So I think maybe that's not quite as nepotism-y, but...
Ryan, I'm going to offer one somewhat petty insight, though.
Wonderful.
If you have that much money, why isn't the sound quality from his mic better when he's at home inside of his
that's a good point.
Did I not say that last night? I did go over to Greg and Jamie's last night, and I said,
here, but not online. I don't think
they shipped all this shit to him. Couldn't they have shipped him a microphone? It was poor. It was poor. It was all this reverb and echo.
Okay, I'm glad it wasn't just me. So
no, man, your ears are all right. It's Jeff. It was Jeff's and CBS's problem. Okay, so let's talk real quick about the return from the Edge of Extinction challenge, if you want. What do you guys think?
Natalie almost blew it.
Who blew it?
Natalie almost blew it.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, Paul, go ahead. You probably have a take on this.
My big take on this is that it really showed a flaw in the editing. Because when Wendell was so far out ahead, there was at no point were you even concerned that Wendell was going to win it because he had disappeared from the edit completely, right? And this is when, it really tips your hand into who can possibly win this challenge. And it looked like for a long time he had a huge lead, but there was never at 1 second that I think this guy is coming back into the game. Because based on he has no story, he can't come back into the game.
I actually said that to myself when I was watching it because I checked out the confessional count a couple of weeks ago, and of all the 20 players, Wendell has the fewest confessionals of everybody on the show. And as he's doing it, I'm like, there's no way. He has no story. There's no way he's getting back in. And I think I muttered it while we were watching it. I'm like, Wendell's not winning this thing. I didn't know Nat was going to win it because it looked like she really cocked it up. For someone with 3 advantages, boy, oh boy, did she ever almost screw that up. If you guys go back and watch it again, on the post, there's this giant spider on the post when Natalie's trying to unhook herself. It's like fist size. It's really
wow.
It's really maybe that threw her off. I have no idea. Rob and Tyson looked like they were close despite the fact that they had no advantages. So that was semi-impressive. I don't know. Is this a flaw to allow somebody to have 3 advantages during a challenge like this?
That's a lot. Poor Yule was digging forever.
It's a lot, but go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, especially since she was on the edge for so long and she had the advantage of getting fire tokens for that whole duration. You have those people who were just voted off for a week. They didn't have the chance to get all these advantages. It's being there longer totally was great for her and it worked out in the end. But yeah, somebody like Tyson or whatever, and you have no tokens to help you out. I don't know. I didn't really like how it landed.
The flaw might possibly be more in how many fire tokens they allowed people to extort for or demand on things, and so she just ended up winning everything. And if she can buy stuff, then she can get it, and then you have to let her use them. So
Are you saying there should be a cap on income? Are you some kind of survivor communist?
We can't also discount her physical stamina. She was a beast to get all of them too, right?
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
you cannot discount that. Yeah, they were out there. She ran. She did. She kept going. So there's that aspect.
I will not take anything away from Natalie. We are not, I don't think, judging Natalie for playing the best possible Edge of Extinction game. I just think the rules are kind of stupid.
Yeah.
what I was meaning was that the show could have just set this advantage. If someone takes it, nets you X amount of tokens. But what they did 2 times was they said, you can play this to anyone and set your own token value. And so they were going like 6, 8.
Right.
Like, that's a ton of tokens.
In their
Yeah.
defense, I don't think they thought Nick would be so idiotic as to pay 8 fire tokens to disadvantage someone in a challenge.
What's he gonna spend it on though? A tarp?
Yeah, I'd rather have a tarp and a bucket of peanut butter. Like, what is Nick doing?
Yeah, I'd rather calories, but yeah.
Yeah, look, production knew as much as we did about how the fire tokens would work out. So when we went to score our little spreadsheet this season, we didn't know how it was going to work out. And, results kind of varied on how that ended up playing out. I think the same thing for the producers of the show. They weren't exactly sure how it was going to happen. And it's interesting. It introduced this economy, which I think I'm fine seeing the fire tokens come back. I'm not fine with seeing Edge of Extinction come back, or as I've said probably countless times, you want to have it in the first half of the game, fantastic. Nobody from the Edge of Extinction from the first half of the game should sit on the goddamn jury. And I don't think we have somebody coming back in at Final 6, but whatever.
I wanted to see more fire token action in the game.
Yeah.
Between
Sure.
survivors in the game.
Hey, if you don't have Edge of Extinction, it's all in the game. So
Yeah.
They're going to tinker with this formula, and they're going to keep those fire tokens around. And I think that you will get a better iteration of this. I think it'll take some tinkering, though, because you'll get some controversies out of it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any other comments people have about the fire tokens before we put them to bed?
I think just same thing that Paul said, that realistically they have to figure out what the economy around it's going to be. And, this is version 1. And, I think that with a couple more cuts and then it'll find a better place inside the game where it won't feel so random.
Right.
Yeah. I don't hate when they try things that have potential. I hate when they try things that it's obvious from the get-go people are going to despise.
Edge of Extinction.
Edge of Extinction. Giant statues of Rob and Sandra. Whatever.
Ghost Island.
Anybody you guys were particularly sad to see ride off into the sunset as their Survivor careers are capped off? Let's assume none of these people are coming back.
I'm just worried what Tyson's going to do for income.
I love Tyson's little bit at the end where he's like, man, 10 years ago I found Survivor. It perfectly encompassed all the weird skill sets that I have. It basically changed my whole life. And then I became a dad, and that was something, and I think that's cute. I don't know. I think that's adorable. And I really like that. I guarantee you Tyson will be on Survivor again. This is going to be on YouTube forever. I promise you Tyson's playing Survivor again. Playing or in some capacity as like a coach or something like that. Production loves him too much. He's too funny. He's coming back. I don't know this about anybody else, but they
kept on giving him screen time when he was voted off the second time. That says, and he didn't come back. So,
Nope. Yeah, no, I think so. Anybody else you guys are sad to see go?
Parvati.
What's that?
Steve has such a huge crush on Parvati.
You can just call me Nick.
I can start calling him Nick. He's
okay,
so
Steve.
in love with Parvati.
I got a little treat for you then. I watched a live conversation between Tyson and Parvati on Tyson's Instagram, and they alluded to returning, and they can't say anything. And she's like, don't tell everyone, Tyson. But the two of them returning in some sort of mentorship type role. So while I don't think Parv will ever play again, she will be gracing our televisions again at some point, I would guess.
It could be like that one season where Cochran kept popping up on on the one island and would give everyone the little attaboy talk. And
Yeah, him and Debbie had that meeting out on the boat.
Yeah.
hopefully it won't be as cringy as like Rob and Sandra's talks and all that. So
I think those two would add a lot more interesting element, a lot more humor, because I don't think Rob or especially Sandra are particularly funny. I think we're laughing at them a lot of the time. Rob's a funny guy. He's an interesting guy for sure. I'm robbed out. I'm sorry, guys.
I think it puts to bed a couple of people that we were wanting to see again, but now we're kind of like, I don't think you'll ever see Danny again, right? And a lot of us were like, oh, I'd like to see Danny Boatwright play again. And I think a lot of us saying like, oh, I'd really like to see Yule play again. You'll never see either of those people play again.
Mm-hmm.
It's too bad. I like Yule a lot.
Yeah.
I don't need to see Sandra play again.
Sandra's done. Don't worry about it. Don't worry, Cal. She's toast.
Oh, she's terrible.
You will see again. You will see Ben again.
Really?
And because of that whole move. Trust me, that move he made. I want to get into that move a little bit later.
Yeah, we will.
But Ben will play again in some sort of heroes type role.
Yeah, well, we could. I do want to have a whole discussion about what kind
I don't see it. What? Is he a hero?
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with Paul. I don't know if I agree with Greg. I'm kind of on the fence about Ben. I think it could go either way. I think production does like him. I don't know how he wins again, but
He's so bad.
I bet you Ben had probably the third or fourth most amount of confessionals this season. And then some of that's because of his longevity, but he had a lot of screen time.
And it made him look stupid.
But not awful, just stupid.
Yeah.
No, not a bad person. Okay, so Nat gets back into the game. Nobody, this is so crazy to me, nobody but Tony suspects that Natalie might have an advantage. And Sarah and Ben are positive.
Mm-hmm.
So this, Paul, I have to assume is what you're alluding to by poor gameplay.
Yeah, this is one of the big things. To not split the vote 2-2 is madness at this point of the game. And Tony was absolutely right. It kind of cost them control of the game without this move taking place, Sarah's probably in the final three. Ben might be in the final, depending on what happened going forward. But they totally lost both their idols. And I mean, I guess Denise gets voted out, but it make them had to really scramble. Like Tony's game was on the precipice because of their mistake.
But what I liked about Tony handling it is that he didn't lose his. And as for much as Randy says, he's got all these antics. He kept it in. He didn't push them too far where they would turn on him. He disagreed. He really tried to convince them, and then he backed off. And while he did rub it in a little, he's like, "Oh, I told you." He's disappointed. He didn't.
That's not rubbing it in.
Yeah. What's that?
That's not really rubbing it in.
No, he simply said, "Well, we're kind of hoop now, guys." Like that was not the best play. It didn't work out that terribly for them, and they got lucky that those guys didn't force fire because Sarah could have gone home. But they lose two idols.
The person who was so adamant that there was no idol and we should just do all for it was Sarah, and
Ben.
Ben was
ended up going after anyway, so she met her own demise, I guess.
Yeah, this was poor gameplay. Huge example number one in the show, I think. We get into the first immunity challenge. Michelle comes from behind and wins this one. So Tony is somewhat exposed at the final six, but he's got that idol, and then we have the whole theatrics that go down.
That's not the only. Sorry to interrupt, but that's not the only poor gameplay here. At this point,
I don't think so.
At this point, Sarah and Ben need to get on board of getting rid of Tony. And I don't, you're not playing. I don't care how tight your bond is. If you're playing to win the game, you've got to be adaptable. And at this point, this is where you go after Tony. You completely blindside him at 6, especially after what Natalie said. What are you just discounting that everyone is saying that Tony's a boss?
That's true. They all have this new information. And it's interesting how they take that information and they talk about, well, we have to, we can decide whether we believe it. We have nobody to fact check this information necessarily, so we take it for what it's worth. And in this case, boy, Randy's busy. Randy's ordering a pizza. Yeah, in this case, I wrote this down here. If Tony doesn't have an idol, is Tony gone? Despite the fact that he does have an idol, you could still make a move. I don't think that Sarah was playing to beat Tony or take him out. I think Sarah was playing to go to the end with him. So you don't have that person on board. So you need everybody else. And I think it's doable, but Ben wouldn't do it either because he's like a dog, little puppy dog. He was loyal to a fault, and I don't get it. Ben came into this to make friends. And if someone's playing like that, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you can't, and that's the problem. Ben is completely immovable at this point. And I think somewhere on the cutting room floor is a conversation between Ben and Natalie that goes something like this. Hey, Natalie, how am I doing over at Extinction Island? Or what are people talking about? Oh, Ben, you have no shot of like winning. There's no, is there any configuration that I can win? No, Ben, there's no configuration that you even get a vote in the final, right? Like this is, and then that's why Ben sacrifices himself later. That's the conversation. It's sitting on the editing room floor at the producers.
It's funny. I thought that Ben had that read himself, but when I think about it, that probably adds a lot to it. I think he's not stupid enough to know that that he would have had a shot, because he was kind of reading the room. He had mentioned, I don't have any friends over there or whatever. No one's given me any tokens. I got a disadvantage. But probably you're right. Yeah. That's interesting. Where Natalie is just like, yeah, sorry, buddy. And Ben knows it, which is why he votes himself out. But we can talk about that vote very shortly. Sorry, go ahead.
I think you guys are all forgetting how difficult it is to really turn on liking friends. You know, it's really, really hard to backstab someone that hard. So.
They've all had to do it at various points in other seasons. Sarah was ruthless in her previous season. Ruthless.
I'm looking at this screen, and there's not one person here for $2 million US. I wouldn't vote out of a game. Sorry, guys. Oh, God. We'll make it. I'll make it up to you. I'll take you out for dinner afterwards. It's gonna be great. We'll smooth things over.
It'll be a sweet party at Ryan's apartment.
Woo! This Lego shelf is gonna be a lot bigger.
Oh God.
No, Caitlin, I appreciate what you're saying, and I haven't been in a situation where I'm food and sleep deprived, and I've been forced to camp with people for 39 days. So who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think any of us have ever had a bond with someone that strong. And so I think there's something we're missing. You know?
I've been camping with people. I didn't get a bond that strong.
Yeah, I've played Risk against people before. Risk can go on for hours at a time. It can get adversarial. You make alliances and you break. I don't know. I mean, I get what you guys are saying. We can never know until we're in the game. Right, Randy? We got to get in the game, right?
I would vote every single one of you out twice.
There you go.
And I wouldn't hold it against you. I don't give a shit.
It's a game.
The only reason I want to be on Survivor is I want to hang out with those survivors. I think they're so fun. I just want to go out on the island too. I think it would be so much fun. I don't want to win. I don't give a shit. My life is fine. And I can't tell them that though.
Hey, Caitlin, there are TV shows when they always say, "I'm not here to make friends. This is not America's next best friend." I know,
but I think I get that, but I think deep down it gets to some people.
Don't go on Survivor.
Yeah, exactly. Don't go on Survivor then.
But I'm just telling you, I think there are some people it affects. I think that's what happened in this situation. I think
those people don't deserve to win then.
Yeah, I'm shocked at how they rolled over so easily for Tony on this season.
Yeah, but so did Woo.
Away.
So did Woo. He's got something.
Yeah, but Woo's an idiot. These people have won their seasons, okay?
People love Tony.
What are you talking about, man? Just gonna get a fat dip of that guac, man. Just can imagine the meat falling off the bones. Yeah, right. So Ben literally says, a smart survivor splits the vote, but I'm not going to do that. Ben. All right. Yeah, very frustrating. It's frustrating to watch as a fan of the show. I want to see something interesting happen. Yeah. Tribal 1. I don't know. I'm nervous at Tribal 1. I thought it was so exciting. I don't know. I thought it was so exciting. Wait, is this Tribal 1? Yeah, it's Tribal 1. We talked about it a little bit already, and the force and everything like that. Denise goes out of the game. I don't know. I was on the edge of my seat for all of these tribal councils. I don't know about you guys. I was nervous the entire time. I felt like palpitations. I felt a little bit of adrenaline going through me.
I was maybe a little bit nervous, but we knew everybody was going to play their idols.
Yeah, you knew if once Natalie played it, you knew Tony was going to play it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we
I
weren't losing anyone we loved.
I thought we might lose Sarah, and that would weaken Tony, and that Tony
Yeah.
would be in trouble. At this point, I had a lot. Even though Michelle is in the game, and she's my last. Well, Denise is still in the game, but I still want Tony to win at this point. I don't care. I don't care if I win the damn pool. So Denise gets voted out, and real quick, we barely hear a whimper from Denise the entire episode. We know Denise is obviously not winning the game, but she goes out and she goes on about how she's the Queen Slayer. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one thing she's hanging her hat on. Like, you voted out Sandra.
That was
what
like
did that get you,
what,
lady?
day 12 or something.
Yeah, a long time
Well,
ago.
She burnt an idol up, and she burnt 2 idols. Well, she needed to burn one, obviously. Because she knew that the vote was coming her way, but she could have picked anyway. She could have voted Tony out at that vote. Tony did not know what was happening at that vote. He was freaked out, and Tony could have been. The plan was to vote Tony out for Sandra. So, yeah, I don't know. I like Denise. I think I liked her first season. I expected a lot from her. I think she did as well as she could do. But
no, she could have done better. Janice needed to be more aggressive about the 8, 9, 10 spot and really kind of to have her own plan. And I guess it never. I'd have to go back and rewatch it to see if the opportunity was there. But I think there was for other people to do something.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's. I think that's it for Denise on the show. You guys, Sarah, this is when we have the big gender inequality speech from Sarah. What do you guys think? Do we want to get into this, or is this too much?
That was awesome.
We're not here to solve the issues. Yeah.
It was great. I loved it.
I think there is a problem with the show, for sure. And I like that Jeff even acknowledged that because Jeff has been the biggest bro. And there's so much trash talk about Jeff online for like just being, the biggest Colby fan and like all these guys who he does call by the Cochran or whoever that he calls by their last name. It hasn't really been the same for women. I look back on the past few seasons, and I do think that the best player is probably one, and they just didn't happen to be a woman. That said, the last 15 seasons, 3 female winners. First 25, it was 12-13. Last 15 seasons, new age of Survivor, this new game where you see Tony, these aggressive type players, 3 out of 12. So, is it a real thing or what? What do you guys think? Nobody wants to dig in on this.
I'll dig in, but I will give everyone a chance first. I speak too much.
I think you're gonna have to go for it, Paul. Randy. Randy.
Okay, I think now when they are actually doing 2 immunity idols, one for a male, one for a female, I think that is actually evening it up because a lot of challenges are very physical, so males win, and then they get there. So now when I see that Denise and someone else gets immunity idol, I think it makes it equal because males are different than females physically and can, except for if you're Natalie, and actually do these challenges, and they're set up for the males. So I kind of was, when Sarah was saying this, and Sarah's a great player, I understood her. And when you said that statistic, 3 out of 15, wow. Yeah. So I like that they've given double immunities, one for a male, one for a female, because I think that helps.
If you want it to be truly fair, there's one immunity, and the winner is the winner. And the challenges are set up in a way that it should be fair for everybody playing.
It's not the challenges, though. It's the perception of playing an aggressive game.
Yeah.
It's the why like Dawn Meehan gets raked across the coals in her season. It's why anyone in the mom role, you have a certain expectation that they're supposed to be mothering in a way, and when they stab you in the back, apparently it hurts more, and you feel more betrayed by when a male does it to you, and that's like the inherent kind of sexism that's built into the game and maybe built into society at large.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen this in the Cagayan season too, because Cass was talking about it too, and she didn't make it to the final 2, but that was going to be her pitch, was that, hey, I've played a very similar game to Tony, but you guys all hate me for it. You like him, but he's done the same thing. It's a gender bias.
It might be some of these people had a lack of charisma, some of these women too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there is that too, but
I'm referring specifically to the challenges, though. In the challenge, I think if you have a male and a female winner, I think that's more insulting to the females than having one winner because, oh, I'm the winner of the females and oh, they're the winners of the males.
Yeah, but then you couldn't have any physical aspect to any challenge because I'm a very active female, but Ryan can beat me in any run, and he's 13 years older than
Well, that's
I am.
why I said
Hey, whoa, hey, whoa.
the challenges themselves.
Dox me?
The
Yeah, but I'm just
challenges
saying-
themselves should have either more components to them to make
Yeah.
it equal to like everybody, like some mental, some physicals, like have more than just one aspect of a challenge.
That's impossible to get something to the right amount of ingredients to completely negate the difference in sexes. It's almost impossible to get that right.
It's called sexual dimorphism.
Mm-hmm.
It's just people are, the sexes are structured differently.
Hey, guys, there's a great article on Entertainment Weekly today about about her gender speech.
Yeah.
And it starts off with, she says, Rob would rather get beat by a man than a woman. And then it just goes right into, she explains the origin of her gender bias survivor speech last night. So
Interesting.
yeah, I'm you guys keep talking, but I'm going to quickly go through it. But it's very interesting. So she's saying there's men who don't want to be beaten by a woman. And so that's what was the origin of her speech.
Yeah, I've seen that for sure.
No, I believe it. I believe it. Paul states it. It's a flaw in the game, but is it more a societal issue? Is it Survivor's role to solve that? I don't know. I do think when we come to the challenges, I think the fire making challenge is the one area that is extremely. There has not been a woman who has defeated a male, I believe, at fire making. I could be wrong about this. I think maybe one or two, but in the last 5 seasons where they've done this, starting in Ben Driebergen's season, there has not been a female who has won the fire making challenge. And I do think for whatever reason that does.
And strength and Flint.
Sure. Yeah, maybe so. Right. I don't know. I haven't, I haven't put out a doctoral thesis on this or anything like that, but I do think that there is a physical bias there. And I think since that's happened, there has been 0 female winners since the fire making challenge has been put into place.
Right. In the past, you said the past 20 years, there's been way less female winners. Have the past 20 years, have they gotten a lot more aggressive, the playing style? And do you think that is why? Versus, do you know what I'm talking about?
I think the aggressive style, when it's played by a male, is rewarded more than it is.
But
and it has got more aggressive. The style has.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So
come on. Go watch those snoozers. Go
That's
watch
what
some
I'm
of those
saying.
seasons, the first 10 or 15 seasons.
Right?
There's some snoozers out there.
Exactly. So that's why I'm saying that allowed for the females to be even. But now that it's aggressive style that seems to be continually winning, I think that's the disadvantage.
Yeah, I don't know how you solve it, but I'd love to see Final Four fire making go away. I honestly can't stand it. I think it's a lame twist that was, developed to keep Ben Driebergen in the game, and I don't know.
Keep Tony Vlachos in the game.
Well, you win some, you lose some. What are you gonna do? But knock Devon's out of the game.
It does give you a more satisfying winner because your satisfying winner used to always get knocked out at 4th, right? So yeah, I hate it too, but it does give you a better, it's more satisfying overall season, I guess, with a satisfying winner.
Yeah, I mean, we can debate the merits of the final 3 too versus the final 2. Final 3, you've always got one person getting no votes, so why the hell are they there? But it keeps this other player in the game. Okay, guys. So we go back to camp after that vote out. Tony, I know we do. Look, if people have to leave, normally we do an hour show. It's a 3-hour final. I don't want to do 3 hours, but if people have to go, I totally understand. I might talk a little bit extra tonight. Totally up to you guys. Whatever you guys want to do. But I'm going to go on for a little bit. Depends if Greg wants to get through. Just as Jamie's first night here, she's going to get stuck with some 2.5-hour episode. I have a feeling I know why Jamie's here. So
let's hurry it up.
Oh, I'm guessing I was overtaken in the pool.
I don't know the results. All right, the results are not official until they come out of Greg's mouth. I'll zip through as much as I can. I like Tony coming back and setting the camp on fire. He's making all these fires in the middle of the forest. He's got a conch shell which has got fire in it, so he can look for idols in the night. It's brilliant. It's brilliant gameplay. We're seeing all these little elements.
Brilliant if he fucking found something.
Yeah, but what are you gonna? It's still the effort is there.
He did. It was a big waste of time, and then Natalie walks out in the morning and finds one right away.
It's not a waste of time because it's the amount you find over like the aggregate of the time you spent there, right? You're not going to find them all. There's a lot of luck involved in it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason they show that, right? It's because it's the attitude. It's everybody's asleep and Tony's up there hustling, right? I
Yeah,
don't
so it was good entertainment, but it didn't accomplish anything for him. So we were entertained, and Natalie actually found something that did something for her in the game. That's
No,
all.
but it also illustrates how much effort this guy puts in. Apparently, this guy doesn't sleep, and people fade as the season progresses, and he just gets stronger.
Yeah. Oh no, I heard this interview with him where he they were talking to him about it was one of the secret scenes. You can watch this, the secret scene where production's asking him like, Tony, so they're asking all the players, where would you say your energy level is on a scale of 1 to 10? Everyone's like, oh, I'm a 1, I'm a 2, and Tony's like, I'm a 15. But I gotta really everybody. It's so funny, this quote. He's like, everybody's getting weaker and I'm getting stronger. I'm like a succubus. I'm like a survivor succubus. They're getting weak and I'm sucking all their energy out. Look at that, look at me, succubus. So it was so funny. And it illustrates his character, Greg. They're not all these moments are there to like, because there's a specific result. We need, the show should be inherently about characters, and that's Tony's character. He is awake and he's working while other people are sleeping. And so if he wins, there's some hustle and there's some elements of, just a drive to him that other people don't have. So we get Tony winning the immunity challenge. I loved it. I like that immunity challenge. I don't know. It's short and sweet. I don't need to see long immunity challenges. He tosses, if you don't remember, the sandbags up. We get this win. My heart is so pleased because I know Tony's going to be around at least to make fire. This locks him in for Final Four. Everybody's happy, I think. Post-challenge. This is boom, the spy nest is back. Tony's up in his stupid spy nest. We hear a huge coverage. This, Greg, I may agree with you here, where we get a lot of spy nest coverage, wherein Tony comes to Sarah and's like, Sarah, I'm gonna go in the spy nest. You gotta I'm really sorry. You gotta bring Michelle over. You gotta talk to her. You gotta find out, does she got an idol? What's the plan? Why does Tony need to be in the spy nest? Sarah can just tell him what happened. So he's like, oh, okay, Tony, yeah, sure, fine. And then Tony watches the whole time. I love he gets out of the tree. He's like, oh my God, this is the worst day of my life. I was up there for an hour. Again, it's such a character moment, and he brings it up at Final Tribal, and the entire jury is rolling on the floor in a puddle of tears. They think it's so funny. And I think that's why you have moments like that. And I love moments like that. I wish we got more character moments like that from other people, so we had some idea, a little bit more insight into them as well. This poor play, Natalie foolishly reveals she's got the idol. She's got it in her buff on her arm.
Yeah.
Terrible. Bad. Is this another example, Paul, maybe, of just rock bottom terrible gameplay?
Yeah, I think that's really bad. And like you say, I think Natalie had to play flawlessly to win, and this is a huge misstep. This is, at this point, you held it back from Sarah about the previous, the previous time you've had the idol. Why are you breaking down now, trying to get Sarah on board when you knew that Sarah wasn't movable?
Yeah. No, she had a pretty easy maneuver here to try and get out one of her enemies, and again, she kind of flubbed it. So it's another knock against Natalie. Where I just think she didn't play that flawless game that she needed to play. She kind of, she got an immunity win, that's fine if she had an idol, but she kind of stumbled her way into the finals.
Who else is she going to go up to and try to make a deal with?
You didn't need to with that idol.
Why does she need to make a deal? She's working with Michelle.
Why is it such a bad thing that people knew she had it? It was the final time she could use it, or it could be used. She was going to use it no matter what. I don't know why it's so negative that it was a bad
Here's why,
thing.
because if people don't know she's got it, then she can potentially use it for Michelle and and she can, because her and Michelle are working together. If people are aware that she's got it, she has to use it on herself. It's just, that's information you don't want out there. You don't want people who are on the opposite alliance from you knowing that you have any tools up your belt or any arsenal whatsoever. It's sloppy. She did not mean to tell them about it. It was in her buff, and she accidentally, Sarah's like, what the hell's that? She's like, oh, just something to keep me safe. It was not done on purpose. If you make a tactical decision to tell somebody that you've got an idol because there's some gambit that you're making, okay. No. If you just fuck up and you reveal accidentally.
That happened because I was in making burgers, I think.
Well, I'm glad I'm here to relive the episode for you. If there's any other recapping you need. Thank you for the burgers, by the way. They were delicious. And the potato salad, delightful. All right, so this is where Ben decides he's going to vote his own ass. He gives Sarah permission. You have my permission to vote me out of the game. And there's a lot of tears this episode. Sarah's so over the moon. She's crying, and I love it. I mean, you can't help but get wrapped up in this emotion. I assume people have takes on Ben's huge move.
This is the most cynical fucking move I've ever seen in my life. This is the this is the Natalie told me I have zero fucking shot to win this game. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create this hero Ben moment, and hopefully survivors in Heroes versus Villains 2 roll this tape and show what a selfless person I was. Fuck Ben. Ben is the fucking worst. Fuck. This is so awful. We watched this season for you to like fucking fold up and be like, oh, I'm going to give it to you, Sarah. I just love you so much. You're on a game show, moron. Fucking just, I can't go on anymore.
Okay, I just read this thing from Sarah, which I didn't see on the show. She said during that vote for Ben, she took Tony's paperwork or something from his idol, showed it to Michelle and Natalie, and said, I have an idol. That's why it all got switched to Ben. So I'm just reading this. And so this is where the editing and everything. So Sarah said that when she saw Natalie's idol, she then showed some paperwork that Tony had kept and convinced them that she had an idol, hence the Ben vote.
I've read that. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I've read that Tony made a fake idol and gave it to Sarah. So that threw them off playing for Sarah. But still, Sarah voted for Ben because Ben said, "Vote me out of the game."
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Paul.
Fuck, isn't anyone else mad at this? Like, this is for $2 million. Like, you've come this far. Like, the only reason, because Natalie told her, you have no votes over there. But this is the way that he comes off looking somewhat noble so he can get invited back for Heroes versus Villains 2. I'm telling you, that's why that move is done. Not because of his, you formed such a bond with Sarah over 30 fucking days? Shut up. Shut up, Ben.
He doesn't want $2 million. He wants a friend.
I need to trade screen names.
What's that?
I said, I think Paul and I need to trade screen names.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
I just really hate moves like that. I hate the noble hero. Like, I fucking hate it.
Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of it. It didn't angry up my blood so much, but it did make me think, well, we're kind of robbed of seeing like a Mike Holloway or a Todd on this season because we're taking up a spot for Ben Driebergen, whose gameplay was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't think he added much to the game other than like a buffoon.
Yeah.
Greg, just to confirm, like self-sabotaging your own game, that's a 15-pointer, right? Like,
I'm glad we used to, I think, have points for a survivor cries. What's that?
Oh God. Give him quitting points.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know if that really necessarily counts. Quitting, it maybe should, but I know there was some iteration at some point where like, we were thinking about awarding points for people crying because it didn't really happen very much before. And
God.
Wow.
Crying always happened.
Just a lot of tears. Okay, so we got the tribal. We got 3 votes for Ben. We got 2 votes for Michelle. The only time in 2 seasons that Tony Vlachos has ever been blindsided, which I think is an impressive feat in and of itself. I don't have anything. I think Paul summed up what I don't know if anyone else has some passionate views in the opposite direction, but
look, it makes everyone. It really I can't stress how bad this is. At 5, it makes it so like you snooker everybody. No one else can make any move because you're like satisfied. Oh, I made a friend today. Like, and no one else. You don't know how badly it blocks everyone else at Final 5, right? Like,
it's a bad move for Sarah too. It's a bad move for Sarah. It's not even her move. It's Ben giving her permission to do something. Her only move is like, I didn't tell Tony about this. Ugh.
Absolutely, and she's much more better served having Ben in the game, and he could possibly win immunity at Final 4, and then maybe can do something else. Like this, this is just it's just such a shitty move, and it's purely done for because he's on TV and people are watching from home.
Mm-hmm. And if Ben's around, maybe Ben goes to fire and beats Tony. It's in Sarah's best interest that Tony is no longer in the game, right? I think once you get to Final 4, all bets are off. I would happily, if I went on Survivor, I'm doing my best to get a foursome together. It's almost impossible to do. And I'm just like, look, 4, that's great. you really want a solid 2 within that foursome, but if you get to 4, all bets are off. I don't feel bad if somebody votes me out. I don't feel bad if I make it to, or if I lose at fire or whatever it is. Like,
I think you should always be looking to substitute out people for better options. I think that's what you should do in Survivor. You should always be like, okay, I could go with my original final 4, but 2 of them are probably have better rapport with the jury. Otherwise, these 2 zeros over here, like imagine like Natalie should have been like, as soon as she got back, she's like, you know who I want to go with? Ben and Michelle. This is my final 3, right? That should have been exactly what she thought.
Yeah, and that's probably doable for her. They got to force fire at 6. Anyway, let's get through the show here, all right? Because we've got to get to the spreadsheet. People have lives that they want to lead. We'll do some off-season shows where we can just ramble on for 3 hours and people can show up or not show up. But
I'll show up.
I know you will, and I'll be there too, mister. I don't know if Junior's going to want to show up for that long and moderate this thing.
Then I'll walk away and I'll come back and stop it at 3-hour mark.
All right, then we got the final immunity challenge, the one where the ball goes this way. And I always like this one. I don't know. I just think it's fun. I got nothing else to say about it, but I think it's fun.
I'd be so bad at this. I could look and see how hard this would be, like the mental concentration. I wouldn't get past ball 2.
And weren't they? Jeff was saying they got to 5 balls before, and these 2 were doing 5 balls for a while.
Yeah. No, both were very impressive. Nat had some pretty impressive saves where that's gone. It almost like it bounced off the camera and then back into her hand. I thought that was really cool. That's something I read about it today, where you need to time how long it takes the first ball to get to the bottom. Like you got to count to 60 Mississippi or whatever it is, and that's how you know how to time the other balls when you're putting them in. Because if you got to have a good
internal clock to do that, though.
You really do, yeah. But if you want to try and win it. Right?
I was watching Michelle, and she was actually really good at it. Like, it's just like, as soon as you grab the ball, she would like wait a little bit at the top and then release it. So it's just like she was totally like playing the game. It was neat.
Yeah, so many people just put it in right away, put it in.
Yeah.
It's true. I never thought about that. But if you know there's only ever going to be 5 balls, you put the first one in, count how long it takes for that one ball to get to out.
Yeah.
Divide by 5.
Exactly.
That's the number of seconds you have. And when you go with that second ball, you put it in on that count. Like if it's 10 seconds, you put it in, you put the next one in at 10 seconds. And then when the third one goes in, you wait that extra 10 seconds.
Yeah.
If you wait like 20 or 30 seconds, then you're not sure where to put that third ball in because the count's going to be off.
Because you're splitting half of half of half, and the half becomes too small.
Yeah.
But
I'm taking notes, guys.
That's assuming here we are sitting here watching. When you're there, it's like, I'd be like, what the? Okay, just throw them in.
Randy would not win that challenge.
I said this last night. This thing looks like the funnest challenge. I would love to do this. I would love to do it 10 times. To do it there in those circumstances, it would be so unbelievably nerve-wracking.
Yes.
Let's just take a quick vote. Does Randy catch the first ball?
Nope, because I'd be like, what the? Okay, I would lose my,
Oh, I thought it was going to come out the other tube.
You're selling Randy short. He's a physical powerhouse. Come on.
There's
I ran a
some
marathon in his 50s.
I did.
There's a few challenges you look at where you think, I think I could perform pretty well at this. And this challenge, I would take any offer to not participate. I don't care what it is.
I don't know. There's so many challenges that happen, and you don't even get a chance to think about them because you're just powering your way through them. This is not one of those things.
Yeah.
It's just this intense concentration. I'd be freaked out, man. All the camera guys there, and Jeff's just nattering at you like, so-and-so did this in there this season, and they lost miserably. Oh, shut up, Jeff. All right, so we move. Nat wins. That's great. And then we go to fire making. Nat blows it by we've discussed it. Blows it by not taking Tony. Agreed?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's that's what you have to do now. Because Chris Underwood set the precedence for that. But I would be like, I kind of agree with Nat's position though. Like you've made it. Send someone else to knock them out. I don't know if like.
So
I don't know what the big deal is.
How much money is it for final 3? Like if
we don't know in this
end up
season.
being third, how much money is it? So basically, she made a choice of guaranteeing her spot in the finale and a top 3 prize money versus maybe making a move and
Yeah.
bettering her position a little bit, and still possibly most likely not winning, and possibly being voted out and not being in top 3 money.
Yeah. What if Natalie knows her skill set and she's just no damn good at fire, right? What, like, you're gonna sit there and go out at 4th, and you know how much you're gonna regret that decision, and see what if I just got 2 other people to make fire?
You know, but what if though? She finishes 4th or she finishes 2nd. She already won $1 million. The difference between 2nd and 4th, let's say it's $25,000. Who cares?
But
After tax, it's like 13 grand. Who cares?
But she doesn't know she's gonna finish. She doesn't know she's gonna finish. She doesn't know that's not the difference between 1st and 4th, right? She can still make a case in her mind, because everyone's own kind of personal narrative within their own mind is going to be biased, and they're going to be their own hero. So she could still think she would win against Tony, right?
I think she probably thought, because of her edge game and how much she did on edge and sent into the game, and then what she did when she got back in, which wasn't, it wasn't that bad. She won to get in to choose to be in the finale, or choose who was going to be in the finale with her. She found an idol to keep her safe for 1 vote as well, and had that other one that she brought in the game. What I think is she thought maybe her game at that point was like, maybe I do have a shot, because she knew a lot of the people on edge and maybe where they were possibly leaning, and that they might be like, if Natalie gets in the game, like, she could have a good shot. But then I think she got a huge wake-up call when Rob in the final tribal was talking about her, sort of the last week totally abandoning and not talking to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's too late in the game to get a wake-up call at that point. You got nowhere to move. That's poor gameplay on her part. And that Danny conversation I listened to today basically said the same thing, where Natalie just ostracized like half the cast on Edge of Extinction, and she was very unlikely to get their votes. Although if she had gone up against a different combination of people, she could have, and if she had beaten Tony in fire. I don't know. I already got $1 million. I think I'm swinging for it. I don't really respect the move, quite frankly. I think.
So I just read here. Sarah said it was 10 minutes before the fire challenge that Natalie switched her mind. It was going to be Tony against Michelle.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and then
I think it's a better move.
Yeah, Tony against Michelle, and Natalie was taking Sarah with her, and it says Michelle started freaking out and crying. So then Natalie switched and said, "Okay, Sarah has a better chance of beating Tony rather than Michelle, who's freaking out." And that's when she switched it 10 minutes before.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You know
Michelle
what?
was crushing it.
She was, yeah.
Like practicing fire. Just like she was like going. Like, she's definitely going to beat Tony if she goes head to head.
Was she, or is that just the way they showed it? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
If you light it doesn't mean you're getting it big, right? Like, it's pretty easy to get the fluff to go.
I think a lot of people really underestimate Michelle. I don't know. She won a couple immunity challenges. I think she would have done just fine. And even if she loses, here's a take for you.
Yeah.
I think Natalie is better off having both Sarah and Tony in the final, because those two split votes.
Yeah,
agreed. That was exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
But the 2 of them split votes between the 2 of them. She gets none with the 2 of them there.
She's still getting those 4.
Because they only have to get, like, they get 5-5, and then Natalie gets 6, right? I think the odds are better with both Tony and Sarah.
Yeah, for sure.
I really think, because you've got one person who got no votes. Even if Sarah can absorb 2 or 3 of those votes, that pushes Natalie closer.
Yeah.
That's poor gameplay. She doesn't deserve to win. She doesn't deserve to win. Yeah. Fun Edge of Extinction game, Natalie. Really great television.
I don't think Natalie's the next level thinker.
No. Well, her performance was quite good in San Juan.
Yeah.
It was quite good.
I gotta watch it again. It's an underrated
I see what you're
season,
saying,
actually.
Strategically. What's that?
It's kind of an underrated season, I think.
Yeah, it's fun. It gives us Jeremy Collins. It gives us
the Christie
friggin'
boys.
Kelly Wentworth, I think that's her first season as well. Did we lose Steve? We're losing everybody. All right, well, let's get to, I guess, the end. Blah, 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 blah. I think that's the end. We got the final tribal. Nothing super notable at final tribal, was there?
No, I don't think anyone. There was no jury members who really were bitter. I think everybody respected the game and how everybody got there. I did like the way that they said the three of them that were sitting in the final really did take different paths, all three of them, to get there. I do think in the final, Michelle, I maybe could have got a couple of votes. I don't think she was that bad. Tony was the clear winner, I think, but I'm surprised that Michelle didn't get one or two.
I'm sad.
I don't like this open format they've used for the several seasons. I don't think it's good television. I don't think you get the pointed questions. I don't think you get the bitterness. I would like to see people's games explained a lot better. Like, I thought Tony had a shitty tribal council just based on the way it was edited. But because I don't think he answered anything in terms of what the actual questions he was answered, but apparently people love just him just like, hey, remember the time I built a spy nest and I was up in the spy nest and it didn't factor into the game, but that's the kind of stuff I do. Vote Tony, right? Like that. I don't know. I would have liked him to get into the nitty gritty of the strategy and what he did best, and they probably did all that stuff, but it just the way they edited it just wasn't. It was the weakest part of the episode for me.
It's a bit of a love-in.
Didn't we mention also a couple of jury members we never even heard a peep from?
You got 16 people. How much time do you have? It's a 3-hour show. What do you want?
But I like the delineation of when there were 7 jurors and each person got to ask a question of each of the things. I just think that's a better format.
Oh, and you get your rats and snakes speeches. You get your full Murphys where you get somebody up there advocating specifically for one person. Where I think Spencer pulled out. He's like, you need to vote for Tony in this, blah, blah. I love shit like that. And you just don't get that now. This was a love-in where everybody's clapping and, you know.
We haven't got one iconic moment out of this new format that has been taking place for, I think, 6 or 7 seasons now.
That's a good point. We really haven't. And we used to get major iconic moments from Final Tribal, and Final Tribal is a bit of a, I don't know.
A circle jerk.
Agreed.
Well, you got to tweet Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff's definitely paying attention.
Comments.
Jeff, unless your name's Tyler Perry or Mayim Bialik or John Cochran, you're not getting through to Jeff Probst.
Change your Twitter.
All right, there. I will say with the Final Fire Challenge, though, I skipped over it. Tony is just devastated, eh? Like that. I don't know if that's what won Randy over, where he can't look at her. He's so upset. I don't know. I thought that was very emotional. Where Tony's just oh my God. I don't know. I liked it.
I liked it too, and I thought it cemented Tony's victory.
Big time. I couldn't tell if he was like, oh my God, I'm so because you couldn't, his face was totally obscured. But they cut back to him, and he looks worse than Sophie in that when she was in the ring there. He's just crushed by it. I don't know. I like that. It was really a cool end to those. There's not a better 2-player arc. Just because of the nature of the show, you don't really have 2 players coming back together that often, but there's not a better 2-player arc in the history of the show, I don't think. Yeah. I think it's great. Yeah, I love that bit. You guys like it? You like the emotion, the raw emotion on screen?
I thought it was a bit that he knew he'd wanted that moment, and he was just like a mix of everything.
I think it was just his emotions were exposed at that time. Like, this guy probably hasn't slept since day 4, and I think sometimes something triggers you, and it just you can't stop it.
Yeah.
Or so I've heard. I have no idea.
All right, so we have we have our Final Tribal. We have our winner. We get to spend 2 minutes with Tony. We get to watch in agony and Michelle's sad. You can tell. She's like, all right. And Natalie just looks so mad.
Natalie's angry.
She looks angry.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to think of a good comparison for her little boyfriend that she had there. It's like funny, bald, bearded guy.
Oh, jeez.
A cannonball of a guy, like a Russell Hands physique kind of a guy. But yeah, she looked like she just wanted to put a closed meeting on the Zoom or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know, a nice moment, a fitting victory, I think, and that is Survivor Season 40, Winners at War. Fantastic, guys. Any hot final takes before Greg gets into our pool winner? Any things you guys want to say about the show? Sum up your feelings on the show?
I think that there's a lot of warm feelings towards the season right now because it had a satisfying winner. But I think upon rewatches of this season, This is a poorer season, I think, in the bottom half of the Survivor season.
What? Bottom half? No.
Wow.
The gameplay is so inept after the merge, and some of the episodes with the family visit and the time spent on Extinction Island didn't amount to much, and the fire tokens that kind of were really kind of like powerful and at certain points but completely useless to the people in the game. I think it's gonna lose its luster once it's out of the limelight.
I have certain storylines I
actually agree.
think that made this season feel good. I think Paul's right. Like it feels good now because Tony won and Tony was great all season, but really Tony was almost the only great one all season. Natalie was a good storyline on Edge of Extinction and coming back in. Maybe you got one or two other players that will remember that, played a good game, but everybody else for a season of all winners, I was really expecting all out war, and it was kind of passive.
Yeah, agreed.
People did seem reluctant to make moves, and there were players who just got caught in positions where they couldn't, like Kim Spradlin. I think there's so much we didn't see because we have hour-long shows with a season like this where we have these amazing players where I would have liked to see more from them. I think there's more there, but because of Edge of Extinction, because Jeff loves the emotional arcs, he loves the family visit, he loves Ethan's cancer story, all this stuff, no disrespect to these people, but I don't know. I mean, I want to see more in-game character, and I want to see a little more strategy too. But I don't know. I think it's somewhere between. It's like middle, like in the top 20, probably top 15 kind of area. Maybe very close to the top 10 because of Tony's victory, because it was so complete and he was so entertaining. So that's where I put it. But
I think you want to rank it properly. You got to get it some time afterwards.
Yeah, Dalton Ross from EW. Randy's sitting there reading Entertainment Weekly. Dalton Ross from Entertainment Weekly, who's the #1 Survivor writer for that magazine, always does his season rankings before the finale. Like he has his running season rankings, and he will release. Can't remember where he put this in, but he released it like a week ago. You got to give the season some breathing room, and you got to wait for the finale to happen before you can rate these things.
And also, if Jeff Probst declares the greatest season in the history of Survivor, you've got to take it with all the salt you can find, because Jeff Probst, when he's super enthusiastic with something, he's selling you something that didn't live up to expectations.
Can you imagine what his stupid narratives are going to be for the 16-year-old kids, and like how horrible it's going? So-and-so, little Billy, you're only 16 years old, and here you are playing against someone who's 63.
Yeah.
What does that feel like to play against someone who's going to be dead in 10 years?
If that's the case, we're going to have a bachelor pool next season, because I'm not watching that.
I've said the same thing. I can't deal with kids that age. And like, it's not even the kids so much as it's like, it's going to be just horseshit, contrived, stupid narratives. And what if a 16-year-old wins $1 million? You're going to create, I've said this on Facebook, a mega douche.
Yeah.
And you're going to create someone who at 18 is in a huge amount of debt.
Yeah.
Because they've overextended themselves in a ridiculous fashion, and they bought a gold-dipped Ferrari.
And also, just nothing they say is going to be remotely interesting, because you've seen 16-year-olds.
I've seen 18-year-olds play the show. I've seen 22-year-olds play the show. It's not compelling television. No offense, young people, but all right. So let's get to the spreadsheet. Let's crown the winner of the show, shall we? Without further, should we do the booby prize first? The Morgan McLeod honorary booby prize. If you don't get that reference, Google Morgan McLeod.
Yeah, I don't know that reference.
Cagayan, my friend.
What does that refer to? What is
her giant rack?
But what? How does that determine a random prize?
So the booby prize traditionally is a title given to the person who finishes the last in something. I'm using it as sort of a double entendre. There's two meanings. Booby prize, poor. Booby prize, this woman who was on the show had enormous boobs. It's the booby prize.
Do
you want me to draw a picture for you?
we already have a prize for the last place finisher. So
yeah, but I'm calling it the booby. Okay. We'll take this offline, Greg.
Junior, are you doing a bit right now?
Wow, Randy.
Greg's
Right
doing
there.
a bit right now.
That's Morgan
There's the-
McLeod.
A little closer to the screen. Just a little closer. There we go.
Okay. Well,
Randy's back there on his phone.
Huge boobs.
I just checked it out. I didn't know who she was.
So who finished last, Junior? That's all I want. You want to put the spreadsheet up?
The last place finisher was my good buddy, Dave G.
Dave G does not have one, I noticed, post-merge survivor. Everybody was gone pre-merge.
He was dead last in 30th place.
Well, that's great. Dave gets $10 and a nice parting gift.
So the big winner is Jamie.
Hey!
Jamie came back from
Wow.
like 3, maybe 4 weeks ago in
wow.
first place to shoot up all the way to first and finish in first. And she actually ended up with 4 people in the final 5.
Wow.
Pretty impressive performance. Tough to beat that.
Okay.
Hey, Jamie, shouldn't you be pulling an Amber right now and being like, oh, you know, the only reason that I won is because people didn't want Greg to win.
No, it's all mine.
That's fantastic.
And,
Jamie's been in the pool since before the pool, man, like since day one of the pool. So it's really nice to see Jamie finally, after, I'm going to say, I don't know, 15 seasons or
I've never won.
something
I
like that.
lost last season.
Yeah, you were dead last season.
I put more effort in my picks this year.
Yeah, it really paid off. Well, that's
Jamie
fantastic.
actually swapped out Amber or Ben
Yeah, I mean,
at
but
the very beginning.
how much did you? Okay, so I can see that Alan.
I don't
here
think it
is-
made a difference.
Yeah.
Alan is the
he-
husband of Sharon, who works in our office at Camosun and has also been in the pool for a number of seasons now. It looks like there was I mean, I don't think it made any difference for Jamie, Amber versus Ben, because there's such a colossal blowout in terms.
It wasn't
of
massive, no.
No, but still, savvy move. You got yourself a Final 5, Paul's most hated player of all time. So that's yeah. We should have done a Paul. That should have been the bit tonight. Is my most hated player of the season by Paul Sykes.
Oh, I'll do that in the off season. I got a
Yeah.
lot of ammunition. Can I make it the top 50 players I hate the most?
I mean, that's fully 1/8 of all the people who have ever played the show. But sure, yeah, no. We got nothing but time to kill all summer. I don't have to go back to work now until at least January, so I got nothing but time for Survivor stuff. So we got Alan in second
Alan
place.
P came in second place.
Yep.
About roughly 40-ish points behind. And then Paul finished third.
Hey, that's not bad.
What is it?
So considering what's that?
What is third pay? Nothing?
Well, it would normally pay about 30 or 40 bucks, but since you haven't paid me for the pool in about 7 years.
Yeah, I just figured you take the money that you won.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
we-
I know.
yeah,
I'm joking. Yes, you win. I don't know. 30, 40 bucks, something like that. I'll sit down afterwards and I'll parse out the money or whatever. I wasn't trying to.
We can have breakfast when any place opens.
Exactly. I know. That's why I've never asked you for it. I'm just joking around. It's a funny joke. So yeah, no, congratulations. That's great. Paul was in the lead the entire season. Paul, your strategy was just picking people you liked, correct?
No, not this one. This one I picked innocuous people who wouldn't be under the line of fire. And so I think it was actually fairly good. I got for most of my people to the merge, except for Natalie, who just cleaned up anyway. So I'll have to introduce a hybrid system next year where I pick some people I like and some people who are, under the radar.
Were you ever tempted? Were you ever tempted to pick Tony?
I picked it in Game Changers. I picked everyone that I just really liked, and Tony was one of those people, and I finished dead last in that pool. So, so I went with a different strategy.
Right. Jamie, how'd you pick?
Yeah, kind of more people I like, people I thought would do a good job. Mostly people I like.
Nice. Yeah. Eventually, yeah, once in a while that does pay off, I think. Caitlin, you've got an interesting strategy, don't you?
Yeah, well, this time I didn't really work out because there was too many points for fire tokens, but the young men win most of the challenges, so I just go with every young man. Tony just wasn't quite young enough. I was close to picking. I'm not looking at his age. I went, no.
You have a similar strategy to how Randy chooses his hot hunks, guys.
Well, Randy goes for the older guys. All those guys were like 60 plus.
He just did that. Yeah, no.
Westman, Dietz. He had like Steve Wright in there.
Yeah,
I think he picked Joe Del Campo.
That's right, he did.
72-year-old Joe Del Campo.
Steve, I think you used your usual strategy this year, but I like your your strategy in previous years, which is boobs and biceps.
That's Steve Scott. And look, Steve, I believe, also has gone from worst to first, or vice versa. I can't remember.
Let me tell you something. I wanted vanilla, people that weren't going to attract any, attract any ire or anything like that. I was kind of hoping they'd play the game a bit, though. Man, when Ben put the game, I was like, you know what? Just perfect end to the perfect season.
Oh boy, and thanks to Randy, who spends an awful lot of time talking to us about our Survivor pool for a person who is not in the Survivor pool.
Next season.
We'll see. I'll text Randy and be like, I don't know, man, I'm too busy. I can't click those buttons. I got some shit going on, man.
So are they fairly confident they're going to have a Survivor in 2020?
Sure, we can talk about that for a minute or so here. I guess at the end of the show, we see Jeff saying, I had seen that Survivor was for sure committed to coming back for season 41, which I think we already knew. But Jeff said during the show, we'll be back in the fall.
Uh-huh.
So what are your options for coming back in the fall? And there's some, conversation on the internet about, well, could they just film a season domestically? Caitlin, domestically means they're going to film it in the United States.
That wasn't just me. Everybody in the house took it the same way. Because the way you said it.
Meant, are they going to film it in the kitchen?
Yes, that's what they thought.
We thought you were joking, though. I thought that he was like, everyone's going to Zoom, and they all just have to Zoom each other all day.
Guys, we're the final 9 of Survivor right now.
Okay, in all of our defense, we thought it was going to be filmed in the home. You know when people say there's a domestic disturbance, it's something at home.
Yeah.
But you got to contextualize these things.
There's context behind it.
Maybe it was the way you said it. If 3 people took it that way.
Film it in their home? What?
Look, I'm gonna have to send Greg, a 4-page email about the booby prize after this. Okay?
You never referred to the last place prize as the booby prize. You always said the last place winner gets a prize. And we were talking last night about how
I'm way over everyone's head. All right, I'll take it. I'll take it. It's me. It's me, guys.
Winner.
For sure. No, it's me, guys.
You were talking about you came up with this thing of picking some random prize.
No, I got a bust made of a literal bust, and I'm going to send that out to people. Here's your giant jugs. Congratulations on finishing last. Randy, is that a tattoo?
Yeah, I have a couple.
Oh, I didn't know you had that one.
What is it?
He's got like a tricep tattoo there.
Oh, I thought it was a shark for a second.
That's my daughter's name, Natasha, who's close to my heart. And this is my son's name, Ethan, my right-hand man.
Nice.
And where's Adam Klein?
Lower back.
Okay, so
Tramp stamp last week. I have one too. Adam Klein.
I saw that Sarah Lucina did have a tramp stamp. Anyway, and I know Parvati does. So, all I've heard is maybe they'll film a season in the United States of America. And Rob Cesternino, who's a podcaster, was talking about this is just an idea. It's like, why don't we do Survivor Wild West? Just as a talking point here. We'll just film it on some ranch in Montana or the Midwest somewhere. Who cares? Every other season has a stupid hokey theme anyway, like Pirates is any better, or Healers, Heroes, Hustlers. And it's the same game, and I would rather take that versus no Survivor. That said, I'd like a Survivor Hawaii. Caitlin was like, why not the Survivor Bayou? All right, sure. Have something in the...
There's a million places in the U.S. you can film. That's not the issue.
I think I like the Hawaii best. I think anytime they've tried to go outside of like kind of the beach format, they've had seasons that have been kind of lackluster in not for the overall season, but just in terms of how they photograph. And I'm thinking if Survivor China had an amazing cast but a really bad location. I
Mhm.
think Guatemala did, and token teams. So I just don't think they filmed well in these environments. Whereas I think they really like the ocean aspect.
Mhm.
Yeah, Survivor Africa. I mean, you're doing water challenges in a literal dust bowl. Like,
Yeah.
it was, yeah. I don't know. Does anyone have any other brilliant ideas that I can forward on to the production team? I like Survivor Hawaii. I think that's my top. If they can actually get people out to Hawaii. I love
Mhm.
like a wilderness one
Right.
in Alaska, but you got a short window on that, and you got grizzly bears to contend with. So I have no idea how you do.
Exile Island could be the leper island.
Yeah, they've got a leper island in Hawaii, which I'm
Yeah.
sure, the lepers won't mind. They can use the income. I have no idea. That's offside. I guess we'll find out soon enough, but it sounds like there is going to be more Survivors. So I'm not going to hem and haw. We'll definitely do a pool for season 41, whatever iteration it shows up in. It's been such a success. It's been such a fun time. The pool, this is my favorite pool that we've done, and I really have enjoyed talking with all of you guys on a week-to-week basis. This is the real stalwart crew here who seems to show up every week. So congratulations to our big winner, Jamie. And thanks to all you guys for showing up every week. There will be some off-season shows if people want to show up, or if you just want to watch them. I'll put it out there on the Facebook page. And if anyone has any ideas for things they want to talk about in the off-season that are Survivor related, send them my way. I got nothing but time, and I can't get enough of this stuff. I love talking about it. So yeah. Until then, guys. It was
Right. Well,
really
thanks
nice
a lot.
doing
Thanks
this.
a lot, Greg, for doing all the work with setting this up and doing the spreadsheet. And thanks, Ryan, for emceeing this all. And thanks everyone for showing up.
Oh my gosh, yeah, big thanks to Junior he puts in so much work behind the scenes. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And thanks to you guys really for showing up and supporting the pool for all these years.
Yeah, thanks,
All
Sarah.
right.
Yeah, thank you guys.
We'll see you guys in the Survivor group over the summer.
Sounds great, guys. Enjoy
absolutely.
your summer. Until next
Take it easy,
time,
everyone.
got nothing else for ya.
Been fun.
See everyone.
Stay safe, everybody. Bye.